They came to my door with badges and threats, insisting I show ID or face arrest. Me? I didn't even live in their HOA. My heart pounded as they claimed. I'd broken rules I didn't know existed. Every demand felt absurd, dangerous, and unstoppable. I could feel the neighbors watching, whispering, wondering who would back down first. But something inside me refused to be intimidated. How far would they go to control a stranger? And could I turn the tables before it was too late? Drop your location in the comment. Let's see how far this story reaches around the world. Life in my neighborhood had always been calm, predictably quiet. I loved mornings with sunlight spilling across manicured lawns, kids' laughter echoing and neighbors waving. My home was my sanctuary. Weekends meant barbecues, movies, and treasured visits from friends. I didn't want to attend every HOA meeting. I liked my privacy, my little corner of peace. But lately things felt off. Flyers about new parking rules, whispers of enforcement, and glances from neighbors that lingered too long, judging, measuring, waiting. I didn't think much of it. Not yet. That afternoon, while watering roses, a black SUV circled the block. Two figures stepped out in crisp uniforms, scanning houses like predators. My heart skipped. Something was coming, but I couldn't imagine how far it would go or how tangled. I'd get in rules that weren't mine to follow. The days after the first knock blurred into anxiety and disbelief. I tried brushing it off as a misunderstanding. But hope vanished when letters appeared, sealed with official-looking seals and threats I hadn't anticipated. The first claimed I'd violated community aesthetic rules, though I'd never signed an HOA agreement. Lawn must not exceed 3 inches. No vehicles parked at a certain angle. All exterior decorations pre-approved. My roses, trimmed hedges, and driveway, perfectly ordinary. Yet I was guilty of some invisible crime. Neighbors noticed the constant visitors. Some waved politely, others whispered behind blinds. Eyes followed me everywhere. Grocery trips, walks, and mailbox visits turned tense. Officers appeared unexpectedly, measuring, noting, and judging. One afternoon, I caught them across the street, clipboard in hand, scrutinizing my car as if I'd committed the gravest sin. Harassment escalated. Fines arrived. Failure to comply with landscaping rules, $250. Unauthorized mailbox decoration, $150. Calling the HOA didn't help. I was responsible for compliance even though I wasn't a member. One morning, a notice demanded ID immediately or face arrest. Panic hit, but I decided to document everything. I photographed my property, recorded interactions, and cataloged fines. Even when an officer waved a notice like a weapon during a video call, I stayed calm and recorded him. Ordinary tasks felt stressful under constant surveillance. The day of reckoning arrived. Officers returned, now 2 more enforcers, clipboards in hand. ID now, one barked onto my porch. Adrenaline surged. This was no longer intimidation. It was an attempt to control someone outside their HOA. I was ready. Every fine and demand was documented. Calmly, I placed my stack of records on the porch railing. Here, I said. Everything you've accused me of. Surprise flickered across their faces as I read absurd claims. Fines for flowers, parking angles, and mailbox decorations. Neighbors gathered, whispering and recording. I explained I wasn't a member, and any further threats could have consequences. The lead officer stepped too close, threatening police. Holding up evidence, the absurdity of their overreach was undeniable. Neighbors murmured in agreement. They had miscalculated. Then the officers retreated, shuffling papers, muttering excuses. For the first time in weeks, tension lifted, replaced by vindication. But as they disappeared, I wondered, would this nightmare truly be over? Or only a temporary victory in a neighborhood obsessed with control? After the retreat, tension lingered like the heavy smell of rain before a storm clears. But the confrontation changed everything. Neighbors approached cautiously, offering sympathy and support. Some admitted quietly resenting the HOA but feared retaliation. My stand gave them courage. I spent days reviewing every document and fine. The HOA had no legal authority. Threats were built on assumptions. Local attorney confirmed my records could protect me and deter further harassment. Relief washed over me. The HOA became less aggressive. Notices stopped and officers no longer lingered. Subtle community changes followed. Neighbors quietly altered landscaping, inspired by the limits of HOA power. Conversations shifted, and my stand empowered others to resist intimidation. The ordeal left scars, shaking my peace but gave clarity. I began small neighborhood meetings, not to join the HOA, but to educate neighbors on rights and overreach. Slowly, community returned, grounded in respect rather than fear. Financially, I avoided fines. Emotionally, quiet confidence emerged. Facing absurdity without bending transformed me. My story became a cautionary tale, showing documentation, calm persistence, and legal knowledge can protect against intimidation. In the following weeks, the officers' presence became perfunctory, their visits mechanical and less intimidating. I no longer feared being singled out, and I noticed subtle changes in the neighborhood. Inspired by my experience, several neighbors quietly documented minor violations and shared stories of similar harassment. Together, we formed a quiet network of vigilance, not to challenge the HOA at every turn, but to ensure no one else would be bullied or silenced. The culture of fear that had once dominated our street began to fade, replaced by awareness, mutual respect, and a willingness to stand up for fairness. Personally, the ordeal left lasting marks but also immense clarity. I realized the value of preparation, calm persistence, and refusing to let fear dictate my actions. I had faced absurdity, intimidation, and arbitrary authority and emerged stronger, more confident, and more in control of my life. My story became a lesson. I shared not only with neighbors but also with friends and family. When rules are used as weapons, evidence, knowledge, and courage are your best defense. Watching the neighborhood slowly reclaim its sense of balance was deeply satisfying. I could walk past lawns, chat with neighbors, and tend to my home without constantly looking over my shoulder. Yet there remained a lingering thought. How many other communities quietly endure similar arbitrary control where residents suffer silently, assuming resistance is impossible? As I stood on my porch at sunset, the warm light painting the street gold, I felt both peace and determination. My home was still mine. Life's rhythm had returned. The power of authority is real, but it is only as strong as those who allow it to be unquestioned. Sometimes standing your ground doesn't just protect yourself, it can ripple through a neighborhood, quietly inspiring others to reclaim their dignity and rights. If my story inspired you, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more HOA and neighborhood conflict stories, and share it with anyone who might need the courage to stand up for themselves. Remember, fairness and courage can create change, even in the quiet.st streets.